Hi everyone, it's Lara. Thank you so much for watching. In today's video I'm going to show you how I made my stretchy bell-bottom pants. I will show you how I created the pattern as well, and of course I have, as usual, a little sketch that will explain it even easier, what was the background idea for the pattern, so that you can create your own pattern for your bell-bottom pants. The funny thing about bell-bottom pants is that I've been already wearing them in the 70s when I was a little kid. Then the fashion kind of came back in the 90s, so I've been wearing them when I went to high school. And now I get to wear them again when I'm in my 40s, so it's kind of fun. I love them. I think they look really great. It's this fun bohemian style or a hippie style. Plus, if you are wearing them with really high platforms, they are going to make your legs look endless. So if you want to know how I created my bell-bottom pants, then please keep watching. This is how I created the main part of my bell pants. I have already covered how I have created a leggings pattern, and that's the one I have used. If you missed that video, I will list it down below in the description box. So I have used the very same pattern, and I have decided that I don't want to have a side seam. That's why I put the two pattern parts next to each other. And then I measured where the bell part is supposed to start. And then I made the main part of my pants shorter accordingly. Now to the bottom pieces. I folded one of the leg parts. It hasn't been sewn together yet, but that will do. And this bottom piece is almost finished apart from the lower edge where I still have pins. I find it easier to explain it that way. That's why I finished one before I went on with explaining the pattern. So the length is basically the distance from here minus seam allowance to the bottom. And then of course I had to add here and here about ½ inch for the next, for the future seam allowance on this piece. The width is up to you. It depends how wide you want your bell pants to be. And the width here is basically the same width like here. You can see that the only difference is here the seam allowance. And the shape is supposed to be a little bit rounded here and also here on the bottom, because then the pants fall much better. My bottom parts are made of 4 pieces. The reason for that is very simple. I just didn't have enough fabric, so I had to improvise, but you don't have to do that. If you have enough fabric, all you have to do is to fold the fabric on one side and then draw this shape on your fabric and then just cut it on one side. So that way you would have seam only on one side, just like on the main part of your pants. And don't forget to add seam allowance on both the bottom and the top of your shape, and that's pretty much it. As I said, this is just the distance from here to the bottom, and this is up to you, and this will be determined from this width. So, as usual, I have a sketch for you guys just to make it even more understandable. So we have here a picture of the bell-bottom pants, and those weird circles are my knees. And here we have the pattern for the main part of the pants. It is really just like for leggings, only shorter, and this line is going to be here a little bit below my knees. That will be the main shape for the bell bottom. If you have enough fabric, you will have to make it only of 1 piece, not of 4, just like I had to do. So you would fold it here on one side, and this side is where you would need to add about ½ inch seam allowance. And I have already mentioned that this needs to be curved so that it falls better. So once you measure the distance from this place, from your knees to the floor, then you know how long this is supposed to be. Measure it on several points of the upper curve, and then you will end up with a few points on the bottom, and then you will be able to draw a nice curve here, and then you will know that the distance is everywhere the same. Last but not least, here is the rectangle for the waistband. So the length is your waist measurement plus about ½ inch on each side for the seam allowance. And the height is twice the height of your elastic band plus seam allowance on each side. So this weird rectangle represents the elastic band, then there is a seam allowance, and this height is the same measurement as here. So this is the basic idea for your waistband. As a first step, I started pinning together the short sides of my main parts of my belt pants. As usual, I kept the pins at right angles so that I could leave them in while sewing. I've sewn those parts together on my sewing machine with an elastic stitch. Once I was done, I cut back any excess fabric. After that, I have pinned the long sides of my pants together, and I have sewn them also with the same elastic stitch that I have used on the other parts. Now I have sewn the main parts of my pants together. I always like putting the unfinished product on with the good side facing towards my body so that I can easily see the seam from the inside, because if you have to adjust something, then you can easily pull it together and put a pin in it. I like it that way, it's really that much easier. So now I have checked if the height is fine. I have here the waistband. If I put it on, that's exactly how high it's supposed to be, that's fine, so I can leave it. So please, camera, can you focus? It doesn't focus. Hello, focus. Now it focused. So you can see that the height is fine. This is exactly how I want it, so that it is a little bit above my navel. Those pants are supposed to be high waist. Trying on is, in my opinion, the key to a successful sewing project. So, for example, here I have sewn together the elastic band, but I still put it on again just to make sure that it doesn't cut in my body, because it doesn't look good, it doesn't feel good, you don't want that. You're making your own clothes and they are supposed to fit perfectly. So that's why I just like putting on everything like twice before sewing it together, because opening stitches is sometimes pain in the ass and sometimes it could even damage the fabric. So yeah, I'm very happy with the waistband, with the elastic waistband, so now I can continue. Next, I have pinned the ends of my waistband together. Then I have pinned the waistband in place. Then I have sewn the waistband on the main part of my pants. I positioned the elastic band inside of the waistband and pinned it in place. Here is what it looked like once it was ready to be sewn in. And then I have sewn through the waistband together with the elastic band with a stretchy zigzag. Next, I have sewn all the parts of the second bell bottom together. For this I have used a regular straight stitch because there is no need for those parts to be stretchy vertically. The seams looked like this then. And as a next step I have folded them to one side and I have sewn through them again so that they would stay flat with the rest of the fabric, because that looks so much nicer. I had to check one more thing before I finished my pants, which is where will the bottom meet the upper part. So I pulled the bell part over my pants, then I will fold it over. That is about 1/2 inch, which would be then the seam allowance, and then I can mark here where the seam is supposed to be. The reason for it is that this fabric is stretchy, and if I would mark it just, you know, with measurements and everything, it could happen that the fabric stretches a little bit more out and then the line would be actually higher than I thought. So it is always best to put the pants on, let the fabric stretch, and then mark where the seam is supposed to be. I also checked if the length is how I want it. I want them really long.
So now I can remove this. I have here my mark, but what I have to do is to account for the seam allowance on this piece. So I will cut about 1/2 inch below the pin.
So I returned to my sewing table and first I cut back the excess fabric on the main part of my pants. And then I have started pinning the bell bottoms in place. I have sewn the bell bottoms on the main part of the pants with an elastic stitch. Here it is important that this part will be stretchy. I pinned the seam in place where it meets the main part of the pants, and then I have sewn through with the stretchy zigzag because that way it would lay flatter and it looks also much nicer. Here is what it looked like. Well, and the very last step was the edging of the bell-bottom part. I have simply folded the fabric over, pinned it in place, and I have sewn it through with the stretchy zigzag. Here is what it looked like, and then my bell pants were done. Once you finish your bell-bottom pants, the fun part starts. You can try out several combinations. So I definitely like wearing them with a crop top or with a blouse with ruffles or with a top like I'm wearing right now with straps. There are so many combinations you can try out and then you can decide what you like the best. So that's it for today. If you liked today's video, don't forget to give it a thumb up, and you can also subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any future videos. You can just hit the button above me or simply visit the description box. There is a link to subscribing, and I have listed there also a link to my Instagram account and several other videos. Don't forget to check out my this year's Halloween costumes. Links are also down below. And thank you so much for watching. I wish you a wonderful day and see you guys next time. Bye!